Hi, Vintage Guitar people. Welcome to Have Guitar Will Travel, presented by Vintage Guitar Magazine, with your host, me, James Patrick Regan, otherwise known as Jimmy from the Deadlands. And today I have the pleasure of speaking by phone with Lzzy Hale from Halestorm. We discuss the origins of Halestorm, her drive and passion for music, the support of her parents early on, taking vocal lessons from Steve Whitman from the band Kicks, her gear throughout the years including her signature Gibson Explorer, her guitar collection and her amps, touring as a headliner and Halestorm's success on the East Coast and Europe, life in Nashville when she's not on the road, and most of all, her relationship with her fans. I had the opportunity to see her at both the Gibson Jam at NAMM and the She Rocks Awards, and she's a glorious guitarist that plays with authentic conviction, a rarity from a lead singer. They have some dates lined up in September in this crazy world, and they're on their calendar. If you want to see some kick-ass great rock and roll, check her out at halestormrocks.com. That's HALESTORMROCKS.com. Please like, comment, and most of all, share this podcast. I'd really appreciate it. And please support Vintage Guitar Magazine and all the wonderful things they do, because they do so many wonderful things for us guitar players. Here's Lzzy. Hey, Lzzy, how are you?
Hi, James. I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Absolutely. It's an honor, really. So where are you at right now?
I'm in Nashville, Tennessee. The band and I live out here now, and we've begun the pre-production for our record, as in, like, we're just kind of going through everything that we've been writing throughout the year and throw it down to some things that we think are special so we can work on those and, and expand upon them. So this is where the real work happens, because you're just kind of like floating in the ether and, you know, trying to chase whatever gets you excited, not really knowing where the album's going to land because it hasn't really begun yet. So
exactly.
So yeah, it's exciting. It's also like extremely chaotic.
I can only imagine. It could end up to be like, you know, sort of like a 60s R&B thing.
It could. You never know.
I'm only kidding.
Stranger things have happened.
My listeners might be completely familiar with you. So what number record is this for you?
This will be our 5th record on Atlantic. We have a bunch of EPs that we put out as well, and a lot of things before we were signed as well. So it's been quite the journey. I've been in this band since I was 13 years old. My first band. It'll be my last, hopefully. No, I started with my little brother, RJ, and we literally had our first gig at the Schuylkill County Fair in the summer of 1997. We named the band Halestorm that day, and we literally haven't looked back. Yeah, it's kind of funny because I have this conversation with my little brother all the time, because my little brother is my drummer, and he's so funny because every time that I like turn to him, he's like, "Are we like that nuts for trying to like keep going with this and doing this?" And he's like, "Well, yeah, absolutely. We're absolutely out of our minds, but what else are we gonna do?"
Exactly.
I'm like, you know what? You're right. You know, words of wisdom from the drummer.
Was there another family member in the band at the time too?
Well, no, not in the beginning. We had, my dad plays bass, and so my dad was in the band for a white hot second. You know, like when you're teenagers and it's like, yeah, you know what? It was just the two of us for a while. Like, you know what? Dad plays bass. That'd be cool. It'd be cool to have dad in the band. That'd be great. And then like a summer goes by and it goes from dad being cool to like, oh my God, I can't be seen with dad right now. You know, like if you're a teenager. So I remember having to sit dad down and explain to him that we're going to look for members our own age. He was kind of bummed, but then he said, "Well, can I still come to the gigs with you?" I was like, "Yeah, Dad," but especially at the time, like, whatever, like I think I was 15 or something at the time, and 14 or 15, and I'm like, "Well, Dad, yeah, I can't drive anywhere. I can drive between the shows." So yeah, it's interesting. We were very much partisan Spinal Tap for a second, and then we found my guitar player and bass player. They officially joined in 2003. So we had this kind of like rotating door of like 16-year-old guitar players that like their parents would like pull them out after 6 months because we weren't signed yet, or you know, or they found out that they could make a whole lot more money being in a cover band, and so then they left doing that. So like we just kind of like didn't have permanent members besides the two of us, my brother and I, for a while. And then we met Joe Hattinger and then Josh Smith, bass player, and it was amazing. All of a sudden it was like, wow, there's actually like people our own age that have the same work ethic and the same obsession with music, and all of a sudden it was a real band. And that was 18 years ago, something like that, 17,
Yeah.
18 years ago. So yeah, so we've been living 2 feet from each other, the four of us, since then. I think one of our biggest accomplishments is that we haven't killed each other yet, and we still really enjoy hanging out and making music together. So
That's
yeah,
cool.
it's kind of nuts.
I saw you at the Gibson event
Oh yeah,
in January at NAMM. And then I saw
yeah,
you
the Nam Jam
the NAMM Jam.
situation.
Yeah, exactly. And then I also
Yeah,
saw you
yeah,
at the She
cool.
Rocks Awards.
See, I was debating this. So, because I saw your name, I'm like, I bet you anything. I met him at the She-Rocks Awards,
Yeah.
and it just sounded familiar, but I don't trust myself anymore. So it's good. It's good to hear your voice again.
It's nice to hear your voice as well. Did you always have the amount of drive that you have now? Was that instilled into you from your parents, or my question is, where did you get your drive?
To be completely honest with you, I'm not quite sure. I remember when we started the band, it became so much more than a career choice for me. It became kind of this extension of me and my personality, and something that I kind of took upon as my identity. You say drive, but there's a very fuzzy, fine gray line between drive and complete obsession. I think that I kind of teetered on that line, and I still do. It's just, I don't know. It's this love for what you do, and everything else in my life kind of comes second to that. And a lot of people, like, by me making that statement, I'm sure that sounds a little sad, but it's actually such an amazing thing to have this amazing North Star, this center, that I can base all of my interests on. And it all kind of lumps into this career. So it's always been about that, to the point that even when I was a kid and, lose a member or whatever, I would be like completely devastated. And
Sure.
like, we're never going to fight, which was part of the reason why I started playing guitar. So when we started the band, I was playing keyboards at the time because I'd kind of taken piano lessons when I was a kid. And so it was something that I was familiar with and that I could always play. And so we lost our first guitar player when I was 16. The kid was also 16. He ended up staying in the band for 8 months. He was only supposed to stay in the band 6 months because his mom informed me that if we weren't signed in 6 months, she's pulling him out. So 8 months goes
Really?
by, and the kid's still with us. And so I think, oh, cool. Like, mom changed her mind or whatever. All of a sudden, we're playing this place called Whitey's Hotel in Pennsylvania, and his mom comes storming in like nobody's business and literally like drags his ass home. And he's like, yeah, I kind of lied to her. I said I quit, but I kept sneaking out to do gigs. I'm like, well, that's really awesome, by the way. But still, he left, and then I'm like, well, we're never going to find another guitar player, whatever it was in my mind. So I might as well start learning, So I'm pretty much, I'm self-taught on guitar for the most part.
Wow.
My dad taught me a few things, and then the rest of it I just kind of figured out by literally like being next to my keyboard, like, ding, ding, okay, that's E,
Yeah.
that's E on the guitar, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's crazy because it's like, I did it out of necessity, but then I fell in love with it, man. It just became this thing where it's like, oh, sweet. I don't have to be behind a keyboard. I can be out front. That became a source of my pride as well. So, yeah.
Super cool. First off, a couple things. You're a super badass guitar player. I mean,
oh, you're very sweet. Thank you.
You took that stage over. It was wonderful to see. But my first question is, what the hell kind of parents live in Pennsylvania where they expect their 15-year-old kid to get signed in 8 months?
Well, that's what. So this is where it gets tricky, right? Because like at the time that I had met this guitar player, we were both 15, and then we both kind of turned 16 over the course of like those months. And it must have been very strange because I sat down with this mom, and was trying to explain to her that that's not how that works, and it's like, even at 16, I'm like, I've seen enough behind the music to know that is not how that works.
No.
You can't put a time limit, and that shouldn't be the goal anyway. And I was trying to explain that to her as well. I'm like, all we want to do is play music, and figure out how to do it again tomorrow, and try not to do anything else with our life. And it's interesting because, like, with my brother and I, like, that was always the goal, was to continue. It wasn't to get signed. It wasn't to, it was always a joke. It was a joke, like, oh, when we get signed, or when we get a Grammy, or when we do this. And it's like, so it's weird how all of those things have definitely become part of our life. Yeah. But that's not the goal, no. All of that stuff can go away and we'd still be doing the same thing. We'd still be in, like, currently, like, I have a studio in my basement, and we would still be in some basement somewhere trying to write new songs and go play gigs.
Sure.
So yeah. And in that aspect too, my parents were very cool about everything. They never let on that they were terrified that we were, basically embarking on this career path that is full of disappointment.
Oh yeah.
It's definitely the last place you would want your little girl to be living in. But they never let on. It was always like, hey man, we'll go to the gigs with you. We'll help in any way that we can. My parents had no connection to the music business whatsoever, besides my dad being in a couple bands when he was in the 80s or 70s and 80s, he knew what it took, as far as practice and all of that. But it's we did this very DIY and very, very fake until you make it, until things started happening. And then you just start spiraling out. Okay, here's an opportunity. Let's be prepared for that opportunity. And then you just keep rolling that over and spiraling out. And for some reason, we're still doing the damn thing. So, yeah.
The typical question is, what was your first guitar?
Yeah. So my first guitar ever was this used BC Rich Mockingbird in Candy Apple Red. I'm not quite sure what year it was. It was definitely new, but also did not play correctly. And it had this Taylor thing on it, but then somebody had ripped it off, and so there was a big hole in it. I ended up trading that one in later on and got kind of a newer BC Rich bitch. I don't know why I was obsessed with the BC Rich thing when I was 16.
Oh, those are badass
But
guitars.
I ended up saving up my first real guitar. That something that I had always wanted was a Les Paul Custom. So it took a couple years. I got that when I was 17, 18, and it was it's a 91 Tobacco Bird Les Paul Custom.
Wow.
And had to save up forever for that. And, and it's funny, I broke I still have it, and I broke the neck on it twice, and for some reason it sounds better now than it did originally. So it just needed some love,
Yeah. My first real guitar was also a Les Paul Custom.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. Yeah, it's just, you see your heroes, at playing these things, and there's something about when you put on something that your heroes were slinging back in the day and what you saw in music videos, you feel cool, man. And we talk about this all the time. My guitar player and I talk about this and about how important it is for you to feel great when you're playing your instrument, and you're not feel embarrassed by it. There's some history to it. It makes you want to play better, and it makes you want to step it up.
Yep.
That's really cool.
When I saw you were using an Explorer, the Black Explorer.
Oh yeah.
Is that your main guitar right now?
I have a couple Explorers. I have two signature Gibson Explorers
really?
that I put out, and one it's basically it's the same guitar, just minus the aesthetic, which one is white and one is black.
Okay.
But yeah, I was always a Les Paul girl, and then I got my first Explorer in 2006. I got it off Craigslist. Some guy, the poor dude, I went in and it was in absolute mint condition. And the guy's like, yeah, I have to sell it for medical bills, but he was very interested in so are you in a band and what's happening? And so I told him yes, I'm in a band, and we tour and all of that. And so he's like, oh good. And I still keep in touch with the guy, because he just wanted it to be played. But anyway, that was my first Explorer, and I just fell in love with it because it was just this nice happy medium between SG versus Les Paul. It didn't feel like a toy, but it was, too heavy, that kind of thing. But also what I love about the Explorer is that you can walk in on any stage, from front to back. And if you're wearing an Explorer with that just classic shape, it's not going to be a country band. it's not going to be like reggae or something like that. And so there's something about to happen. And I loved that as well.
And the Firebird, the white Firebird, is that also yours? I don't know if you borrow guitars occasionally.
Do have a couple of those as well.
Okay.
The Firebird is great. And the new ones that they just put out in the past, a couple of years are actually really well balanced, because I have a Firebird that's probably about 10 years old, and the headstock always goes right to the floor.
Yes,
and
exactly.
And these new ones that they have are absolutely amazing. And it's interesting being a girl in this business, because I look at things. And I know the guys do this too, but you're looking at guitars kind of like however you're attracted to a certain type of car.
Oh yeah.
It's like you it almost becomes this fashion accessory as well.
Sure. Have you ever used other than Gibson guitars besides the BC Riches earlier on?
Yeah, I have a couple Fenders as well. Telly Strats. Let's see, what else do I have? I have a Fender Jaguar, which is pretty fantastic. A couple berries. I don't know. I just like, I've been collecting guitars forever, but I only ever choose things that I really, really like. And so like, I haven't necessarily sold anything
Oh, wow.
for a long time, to the point where I swear, like in my house, in every single room, I just ended up putting guitar hangers on the wall. So it's become this kind of functional art.
Wow.
It's like throughout the house, because I don't know, I like looking at them too, and I don't like keeping them all in cases. One of the weirdest things, I have a Waterstone 12-string bass that actually was Tom Peterson from Keith Trick, his old bass, and it's amazing. It's like, it sounds like piano strings. Yeah, a lot of weird things. The funkiest guitar that I have right now is one that Gibson made custom for me, and it's a double neck, but it's a 6-string up top, so it's standard 6-string up top, and then a baritone on the bottom, and that thing is crazy. But talk about heavy guitars, right? Because in the beginning when they were making it for, they're like, hey, do you want us to chamber it? I'm like, no. How heavy could it be? It's fine. It was like, I got it in, just SG, form.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like, how heavy could it be? It's probably going to be fine. But it's literally, it's 2 guitars.
Yeah, exactly.
So what was I thinking? But that thing is great though.
Uh-huh. The amps that you're using, now I'm back to amps. The amps that you're using, what are those?
Oh yeah. You know what? I'm kind of a purist. I have a lot of Marshalls, and most of them are, different, in varying degrees of working PCM 800. And so I end up doing, either half stack or double stack, depending. I've kept it that way for a long time. I have Mesa Boogie triple rectifier. I have a Marshall Jubilee at home as well. But I don't know. I kind of stick with what works most times.
Sure.
And I feel like I've been chasing. People talk about chasing tone. I've been chasing that for a long time, and I just keep going back to just like literally just like cranking that Marshall. One of my favorite amps that I have is actually a Randy Rhoads reissue 100-watt Marshall amplifier, and you can't get that thing up to 2 without completely like scarring the neighbors that are literally like 2 miles from you. But we used it on our last record because I was mentioning it to our producer, and he's like, "Well, why didn't you bring it over?" I'm like, "Because, dude, it's so loud. Like, what are we gonna do with it?" He's like, and so we stuck it out in this like shed right outside of the studio, and cranked it, and we could still hear it in the control room. So that thing was crazy.
Wow.
Can't entirely tour with that. It's not like it's 1962, or I should say 1970 something. But they do have amazing PA systems now, so you
yeah, exactly.
really need the 100
But
but it's fun to have.
Yeah, I'm sure. Do you use in-ear monitors, or do you just use wedges in front of you, or both?
I do both. For the longest time, we didn't do the in-ears thing just because it was expensive, and then when we were able to afford some good ones, we do the JH Audio ones, and that are kind of molded to your ears, and it's really nice. But I use them as glorified earplugs, so I don't crank them super hot. I kind of keep that down so you can hear the nuances of everything, that we're doing. And it definitely made us tighter as a band because you can literally like hear everything that everyone is doing. Yep. And but I still like monitors blasting in my face, so I kind of keep that I in the forefront. I think it just comes from we grew up playing in smoky bars,
Yeah, exactly.
We just have shitty monitor systems are the best. It's like everything smells like beer. It's crazy. But it's interesting though, because when we first started using in-ears, because I'm not knocking them, it really did, make us tighter as a band. And it almost gives you kind of a leg up from the audience because you can hear all those nuances and we don't use any track, no click, no trickery, no miming, no nothing on stage. So it's literally the 4 of us trusting each other and listening to each other. And in the past couple of years, we've incorporated these literal jam sessions into our set.
Wow.
So we do a different set every night as well. So we'll change up the set every single night because we got some crazy super fans that come to like 8 shows in a row, and we always feel bad. We're just like, well, we can't play what we did yesterday,
Sure.
So we do that, but then we end up kind of calling an audible right before we go on. Like, okay, well, during this song, out of the bridge, let's just go off into something, and then we aren't necessarily sure how we're going to end it. but we have to literally listen to each other. And when you're riding that same wave with your bandmates, and especially under high pressure like that, like, you know, we could make a magical moment that will never happen again. It's very special to the audience, or it could be a total train wreck, but that's up to us, you know? So that's where life happens. And so we're really proud of that.
Cool. Speaking of touring, so how many dates do you do a year?
Wow.
Roughly.
You know, we just because it's so much more than gigging now, and it's just a lot more things that end up kind of in our schedule. But we're on the road roughly about 250 days a year.
Wow.
But we used to do like 8 shows in a row and completely like kill ourselves. I think our record was like 11 dates in a row or something like that. We don't do that anymore. We try not to exceed 3 nights in a row anymore mainly because we're not the first of 4 anymore, and it's not just 20 minutes in 3 people and the sound guy. It's literally, you know, it's like we're doing, you know, 90 minutes plus every night. So yeah, we try to keep a good balance anymore.
Sure. Your voice is super, super strong. Do you have to?
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Do you have to rest your voice pretty much when you're talking really good now, but do you have to rest your voice when you're not singing?
You know, I think there was a learning curve when we started touring that I had to figure out, because I remember we would have days off and I would just be silent and this was years ago, because I was like, I don't know, man, because I want to be on 100 every night. And you kind of have to figure it out, because your life that way either. For the past many years, it's actually been like really great. I've found this balance within myself. I do warm up to some degree every day, but it's not like it used to be. It used to be like, all right, I'm warming up for 1 hour exactly. And I'm going to go through everything. And no matter what, like that doesn't change. And now it's more like, you know, I wake up, you're listening to your own body, and, you know, I kind of check myself throughout the day. And if I wake up and I'm like, well, okay, cool, everything's there, I don't have to warm up as much. And, you know, I'll kind of like, you know, lay waste on the stage. I haven't lost my voice, you know, due to a gig in a long, long time. So for some reason, I think I figured something out there. But a lot of it is common sense, you know, and a lot of people and a lot of singers don't get that. It's not like a magic feather or a special tea or a special guy you go to learn how to warm up. You know, it's literally like, you know, keep yourself hydrated, you know, rest when you're tired. You know, if you are losing your voice, shut the hell up, you know, and a lot of common sense like that. And you know, you don't overdo it. And if it hurts, don't do it. You know, like literally singing should not feel like it is being forced, or even a lot of the crazy, like I do a lot of like, guttural stuff, you know?
Oh yeah.
And you know, it sounds ridiculous, but it doesn't hurt at all. And it's actually one of the easiest things that I do. And
really?
To be geeky about it technically, and I was just talking to this band called the The Who, and they're this Mongolian throat singing band, but they're a hard rock band. None of them speak any English, but I was talking to them via their interpreter. And found out it's very similar to, I guess, apparently what I do with the screaming. It's more like you're combining a couple different resonance areas to kind of to utilize both of those things. So it's almost like you're confusing the signal.
Sure.
And so it sounds broken up and it's multi-tonal. So people are like, wow, you're like screaming your head off. And I'm like, I'm actually kind of singing. That's what it feels like anyway. But yeah, so like sorry, I digress because I get a little nerdy about that stuff.
No,
but,
that's
yeah,
cool.
I don't know. It's literally, it's just about trying to do it right, man. Yeah. And I went to, when I was a kid, let's see, I think I was 16, 17, over the course of that year, I got to meet one of my 80s metal heroes, Steve Whiteman from Kix.
Oh, I love Steve Whiteman.
You know, yeah, blow my fuse.
Yeah, exactly.
Such a sweet guy. We got the opportunity to open up for him in his side project, Funny Money, back in the day.
Yeah, I remember.
And I saw him like kind of warming up in a towel, and you know, he was kind of muffling some like weird noises he was doing. And I asked him about it. He's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm warming up." And I'm like, "What's that?" You know, and at the time, and he's like, "Well, I actually teach vocals at Marty's Music Store in Harrisburg and in the basement." I'm like, "Oh, that's sick." He's like, "I have like an opening on Tuesday if you want to come try it out." And I ended up going to that guy every Tuesday. He taught me everything that he knew. And I still go by a lot of that stuff today. You know, and any of my warm-ups that I do are still in that vein, and still everything that he taught me. So yeah, I mean, he was a good person to kind of help groom me at that early stage, you know.
Sure.
Or I might have gotten into trouble and started picking up that habit, you know. So, yeah.
I've always been impressed with his also work ethic. That guy's got a strong work ethic as well. And
oh yeah, and he still looks the same with the same haircut. He's still a beanpole, and
yeah,
like, and they're all like super nice guys, which that hasn't changed much, which is good.
Yeah, he was in a punk band before they started Kicks called the Generators or something like that, and he looks the same as them as he does now.
You know, when those bangs were cut. I don't think there was any way he was going back. I think that was his initial. Yeah. He had found his look and he's sticking to it.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
So are your Marshalls modded or do they have master volumes to get the distortion sounds, or are you using pedals to do that?
I end up using just my pedal board is kind of minimal. I have one of my favorite pedals that I use is one of those Klon distortion pedals.
Oh yeah, of course.
And that was given to me by a fan.
Wow.
And I believe his name was Steve, so they ended up writing it down in the bottom of it so I wouldn't forget his name, like on the back end of it. Mm-hmm. And so I use that to kind of like just be the icing on the cake. I get most of my tone from the amplifier.
Okay.
And so I get it to like the point where I want it there, and then I'll just kind of put the distortion on just for that nice sheen.
Sure.
I end up using one of Gary Cantrell's signature wahs because I love that thing. That's literally like my favorite wah pedal ever. Uh-huh. I end up using that quite a bit, especially when I'm doing leads, because I love the uncanny ability to make the guitar sound like a voice. And for whatever reason, that particular Gary Cantrell wah does it for me. So that I occasionally use a Pog pedal, but I think that's really only on like 2 songs we have in the set right now. So I'm not too crazy about that one. Obviously, I have a line boost for solos and all of that, and it's obviously a tuner. My absolute favorite pedal ever because it makes everything sound great.
Exactly. What kind of tuner do you use?
Just a Boss tuner.
Okay, but still, it's a very important pedal that doesn't get discussed very often.
Yeah, you know what? It's like you can be the best player in the world, but if you're out of tune, everyone's gonna think you suck. So
let me ask this question in a way that isn't too rude. When did you guys bridge the gap into where you were, I guess, profitable?
Wow. Honestly, we were doing pretty good on our own before we were signed. Not rich in any means, but we were making a living.
Paying rent.
As in, we didn't have real jobs by the time that we ended up getting signed in 2005. My guitar player and I, we would all do kind of double duty. So like we would have the main gigs with Halestorm that we played anywhere and everywhere that we could.
Sure.
We were, I think at that point, doing about 200 or something dates a year or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And but then in between, if we weren't gigging with the band, my guitar player and I learned literally like 4 hours worth of acoustic material and would book ourselves around the bars. And so we were doing, literally 4 hours a night at the bars, and then we'd have like the bigger gigs with the band. And
that's
so
badass.
we were doing really well. As far as it depends on what you mean by profitable, because it's always kind of been the same. It's like with like video games. It's just you're making an effort to level up, and then as soon as you get to that next level, it's still work. It's different kind of work, or maybe there's more pressure to it, or whatever it is. But I think that was the whole. I don't necessarily think about it like there's one moment or the other that all of a sudden, okay, guys, we're a real band. We're making money. We're doing whatever. It's just, there's all these mile markers along the way, that you're like, okay, cool. Like we're past that point now. Now what's next? Yeah. I'd like to say, I mean, at this point now, we're all in our 30s, living out our teenage fantasies, by the way. And, we all own houses, which is something that we never thought would happen. And we, we're making, a living and doing what we love, which we were going to make happen no matter what. But the fact that that's actually like a thing is such a perk in our life. So we're extremely lucky to be in this position, because we know so many amazing bands and amazing musicians and like virtuoso musicians that never even make it to their first record on a major label, let alone now we're working on our fifth, Some of the best, I live in Nashville, some of the best guitar players I've ever met are literally the bartenders
Oh yeah.
that are serving me my cocktail. And so it's crazy how all of that stuff happens. And so like we're humbled by the success that we have. I don't know if there will ever really be a point in our heads where it's like, okay, guys, we've made it.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
I think we're still making that happen.
Your popularity, maybe not popularity. You tour the East Coast quite a bit, and
yeah.
and you tour Europe quite a bit. Do you come out to the West Coast?
We do. The problem has just been, honestly, with rock radio kind of going away, especially in the West Coast there, we don't get a whole lot of play the way we used to. So we've kind of been slowly but surely inching our way to becoming more popular on the West Coast.
Sure.
It's like, yeah, we do very well in the Midwest, East Coast, and Europe is amazing.
Yeah, no.
And we do well in the West Coast whenever we have a gig there. It's just, I know we have fans there because when we have gigs, people show up.
Sure.
It's just a matter of wrangling in the promoters most times.
Yeah, exactly. And Europe, you're a headliner, correct?
Yeah.
Are you a headliner on the East Coast?
Yeah. Obviously it depends on what tour you're going on because if you're going out with the likes with Alice Cooper, there's no way I want to follow that. But yeah, absolutely. And we just played one of the biggest headliners in probably our history at Alexandria Palace.
Wow.
in the UK, and that was just crazy because like you walk into that place, it's huge, and then they have this is where like Ozzy Osbourne performed.
Sure,
in
sure.
the 70s, like it was just this amazing venue. And so yeah, like speaking of like mile markers, like definitely one of them. Like guys, like isn't this cool? Like we've gotten to the point where like all these people want to come see us, and at this particular venue. Yeah, so it's just I don't know, but it's crazy being the headliner. It is because when you're the first of four and you're playing 20 minutes, you're proving yourself. You that's the handshake. And now when you're the headliner, you're past the handshake and you get to dig a little deeper and talk more about let people in a little more. And it's just been so amazing. Like one of the most magical things I think about being a part of a band and being on stage and being a musician and being is knowing that I'm not cool, like I've never been cool, but understanding that all of these people that are standing in front of you that are singing your songs back to you, whatever it is that I represent for them, these people are identifying with, and it becomes less about us rocking and them listening. And it's more about something that we can all do together. And we have this common ground. We talk about this stuff all the time. We're like at the rock show, specifically the genre of rock, all walks of life. And nobody's there for casual entertainment. They're there because they primarily need to be there.
Sure.
But also the rock show doesn't care, whether you're a boy or girl. And it doesn't care what walk of life you have or what you do for a living or your skin color.
Yep.
Or who you want to make out with. It doesn't care. We're all the same at the rock show. So it's become such a bigger thing, just in the past, like even just in the past 6 years, it's become just so much more than just, okay, we're musicians and we're going to rock out. Cool. We're going to wear neat clothing. It's like, it's not about that. I truly love what I do. And I, just, holding that flag high for as long as anyone will let me. And then beyond that, they'll have to like drag me off that stage, I think, with one of those long hooks, like old, like sheep hooks,
No.
the theater, like drag me off there.
I don't think so. I don't think that's happening anytime in my lifetime anyway. When did you start doing the solos with you harmonizing vocally? I love that stuff. Like
thank you.
You play a lead and you'll vocalize the harmony. And that's just so cool. Oh,
thank you. I appreciate that. Honestly, I think you're the first person to actually bring that up because I've been doing that for a couple of years now. But I think that it's something that, unless you're really paying attention, you kind of miss. So thank you so much. I started doing that, I don't know, years ago mainly because you sit down as a guitar player. I don't know if you ever do this as a guitar player, but you sit down and you're like, okay, who do we got? We got Eddie Van Halen who does his thing. We got Slash, he's got his thing.
Yep.
Like, what's your thing? What's my thing? And like at one point in time, like, you know what? I'm never gonna like be any of these guys because they already got that stuff down. So what is it that I can do that maybe they can't, or maybe other people won't, or what's weird about me. And the biggest thing that I kind of stumbled upon this, I think it's just from being, a front person and having to do like 3 different things at once.
Sure.
Just kind of playing that balance game. But I started singing with my solos mainly because I could.
Uh-huh.
And for some reason, it actually like makes me play better as a guitar player by singing with it, because it's that kind of connection.
Yeah.
With those 2 things that innately are your body. But it was awesome, because when I started doing it, I'm like, all right, cool. This is something else that I know that I can do that I don't know that a whole lot of other people can.
Yeah.
And so I like things that make me stand out, or that I can call mine.
Yeah.
I want to have like my uniform. I want to have, the things that I do that nobody else would do. And I think honestly that comes from like just in middle school. It's like if you can't, it's the opposite of like, if you can't beat them, join them. It's like I could never join them, so I had to beat them in other ways.
Uh-huh.
Just trying to stick out like a sore thumb in order to just kind of do that. So I don't know. Yeah, it's fun. It really is. And every time that I do something like that, I don't know. It makes me feel better about immersing myself into guitar,
uh-huh.
because I can have something that I can call mine. So, yeah, that's cool. Thanks for bringing that up. That's awesome. I don't know if I've ever really explained that before.
So 250 dates a year. Do you? Is there a downtime at all for you?
Sometimes we usually describe it as the road is home,
uh-huh.
and then home is vacation, because you're home in between tours for probably an average about 5 to 8 days, something like that. Probably 8 days on average, kind of like floating in between that. So there's not enough time for you to actually reevaluate your life and start like digging in to like house chores. You're just still kind of like living out of your suitcase, but you treat that time off like, all right, cool, let's get together with a bunch of friends and let's go fishing or let's do whatever. So yeah, we do get downtime. Right now, at the moment, we have a couple. We have a small run in April and some things in June just to kind of keep the lights on. But other than that, we're writing a record. And I got to tell you, man, just to try to figure out what your life means without you being on the road is kind of strange. It's like mind-boggling. And I've talked with a lot of touring musicians about this, and I'm glad I'm not alone in this. But it's like, I don't know, just like the normal things, like trying to decide what you're going to eat, like for lunch or dinner, has become an impossible thing, because you're on the road all the time. So you're kind of like at the mercy of whatever either is in catering or whatever's around,
Yep.
So you don't necessarily have to like make that decision. And so just like making that decision, or like making sure you're doing laundry, or like maybe you should vacuum every now and then. I don't know, like those normal things. It's like, where's the silverware drawer? I can never find that in my own house, and I can never find, those little things make it a little strange to like be off the road. Plus, you kind of need it. Like, you need a gig every now and then. I end up getting up here with a bunch of friends in Nashville, just to kind of satisfy that itch.
Sure.
It's like, hey, you want to come, perform some like Judas Priest concert? Like, yeah, man, absolutely. When's it happen? Friday at whatever club. Like, cool, I'll be there.
Like
and you like get your fix for a little while. So,
with the rock and roll residency.
Really strange.
With the rock and roll residency people.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They're bringing that back, and so like I literally was just hanging out with some of those guys the other day. We had a party for my guitar player's birthday, and they showed up and they're like, "Hey, we're bringing it back. Just decide what you want to sing now, because we're gonna have you in there a lot." I'm like, okay. So I currently have to curate a list.
I love watching those videos on YouTube. Those guys and you playing with them. It's fucking cool. Sorry, I swear.
Oh, thanks, man. It's awesome. This, people always think about Nashville as being this country town, and of course there's, amazing country roots in this town, but there's such a huge rock and metal community. It's not even funny. And the difference I see with this community versus even, on the East Coast or the West Coast is that everybody supports each other. Everybody goes out, they promote each other's gigs, everyone goes out and supports each other, they guest with each other. And I remember coming up in Pennsylvania, and that was just like not a thing. It's like everybody was in competition with each other, and nobody promotes, their friends' gigs and stuff. And unless you're playing, you're both playing together, and there you go. So yeah, it's a neat thing to be a part of out here. It really is.
You're probably a role model to everybody, but do you feel any responsibility to being a role model for girls coming up playing guitar and being rock singers and stuff like that?
I do feel a responsibility, but not in a negative way, not in a I'm nervous about saying the wrong thing or whatever. I'm human. I know I'm gonna make some mistakes. Especially now with social media, it's like you can't hide that stuff. No. So I know, but I feel like the craziest thing about that is that the more that I am unapologetically myself, the more letters I get from parents, and the more more things that just words of encouragement or appreciation from parents and from young girls, just about whatever it is, like I said, that I represent. And I'm proud to do it, because honestly, like, I remember being that age and, meeting people, in bands or going to see a show, and like not understanding necessarily like how it all works, but knowing there's magic here. And for whatever reason, I have to do it.
Sure.
I don't know why really, but I have to do this thing. And so when you hand one of those girls a pick, or if you take some time to talk with them, or, I know we were on that Shiprocked cruise a week or so ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, and this little girl gets up. I was doing this Q&A with a couple of my buddies, and this little girl, 11 years old, asked me, she's like, would you write me a doctor's note so that I could get out of all of the boring classes in school? Not the ones that I like, but all the boring, so cute. So anyway, like with the crowd and everything, I lost her for we're all in the same boat, so you think that it would come around. And so I ended up writing her this note anyway. And then while we were on stage, she was like front and center with her mom, and I handed her this note, and like she just started bawling. And it was like the cutest thing, but it was also one of those, it was like really powerful to like, not so much the doctor's note, because that was kind of funny.
Yeah. But
her mom came up to me afterwards, and just the fact that you remembered, and that you made good, you made that moment for her, is what I appreciate as a parent. And I think that, we all kind of, if you're representing something for other people, you have to, and you should want to make that good for everybody. And I mean, I got to meet with, Ronnie James Dio years ago, right before he passed. And we opened up for him, and he gave me that advice. This was in 2009. Basically, like, I watched him sign everything for everybody and take every picture and talk with everybody and give them advice. And then he still came back we were touring in an RV at the time, and he still came back to say goodbye to us. And I said to Ronnie, I said, man, we would have totally, thank you for coming back to say goodbye to us, but, we would totally understand if you just want to go to bed. I mean, that was like a long time of you like saying hi to everybody, and it's almost like 3 a.m, and he turned to me, he's like, man, you're never going to remember all these venues or the places that you play or the people or all the people that you meet, but they're going to remember meeting you for the rest of their life. So you got to make it good for everyone. And so it's just one of those things where I don't know why, just every time that I talk with these kids or I get to, spend some time with people that actually like do really need to spend time with somebody, or for whatever reason, whether it's just, hey, we're just talking about the weather, or we're talking about gear, or, you have certain kids come up and they'll tell you their deepest, darkest secrets that their parents don't even know about them, but for some reason they feel this connection, to you because of music. And so yeah, I don't know. It's important, I think, to pass that stuff on. And it's something that you truly end up enjoying. Like, like a pick, it's just a piece of plastic, but you hand that to a kid and their like face lights up, and you get addicted to making people's day like that. It's nothing to you, but it's a moment in time for you. But yeah, it means so much to them. So yeah, I don't know. It's something that I like to do.
I should have asked you for a pick when I met you. Damn it.
Hey, I always have one in my pocket, so you let me know.
Well, thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Yep. And hopefully I'll see you when you're out here or somewhere.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. We're making it happen.
I'll definitely see you on YouTube.
Oh, yeah, yes.
And good luck with the new record.
Oh, thank you, darling. And thanks for taking the time to talk with me, man.
Oh, my pleasure.
Truly, it was delightful.
The pleasure's all mine. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Have a great one.
You too. Thanks for listening to Have Guitar Will Travel. You can catch up on all the things I'm doing at thedeadlies.com. And I'm on all the social media platforms as well. And please support Vintage Guitar and all the wonderful things they do, because they do many, many wonderful things for us guitar players. Thanks. Please subscribe. Please tell a friend. And I'll see you guys next week. Bye, guys.